Hi, I'm Detective Joseph Scaramucci with the McLennan County Sheriff's Office. I've worked hundreds of trafficking cases over the past 6 years, and I want to share with you what I've learned about traffickers and buyers. First, we have to understand that human trafficking, like all industries generating profit, is about supply and demand. We know that the supply side of human trafficking is the victims, the people who are used and exploited. The demand side is the buyers, the people who are seeking to pay for the services provided by victims. And the person in the middle is the trafficker. The trafficker is a person who, through force, fraud, or coercion, is providing the victim to the buyer. So who are these sex traffickers? In sex trafficking, a trafficker may be better known as a pimp. Now take a minute and think about what comes to mind when you think of the word pimp. Based on music and movies, you probably have a pretty distinct image of what comes to mind. But as someone who has encountered and arrested a lot of pimps over the years, I have to tell you, most don't look like this. I'm about to show you a group of photos. Take 10 seconds and decide who you think the pimp is. You may have guessed it, but all of these people have been arrested for sex trafficking. In 2018, a Travis County, Texas woman conspired with her boyfriend to traffic a 14-year-old girl, lured the girl through Tagged, a social media app, used threats of force to make her perform sex acts, is now serving 40 years in prison. In 2018, a Houston, Texas man was running a massage business out of his home using a 15-year-old boy to give massages to clients. Paying customers were allowed to engage in sexual activities with that boy. He did this to multiple boys. He also tried to traffic this boy to the Summer Olympics in London in 2012. He's now serving a 30-year prison sentence. In 2016, a Waco man who was 51 years old harbored a 15-year-old runaway girl and charged men to have sex with her while keeping her high on heroin. He's now serving 12 consecutive life sentences. In 2018, a junior high teacher in a small town, Mahia, Texas, was accused of posting nude photos of her underage family member and arranging for multiple men in Morocco to have sex with her. In 2019, a former District of Columbia police officer who met two 9th grade girls online, 14 and 15 years old, paid them to have sex with him. He pointed a gun at one of the girls, demanding his money back after she performed a sexual act. He's now serving 10 to 20 years in prison. From 2012 to 2015, a woman sold her 10-year-old daughter to a businessman multiple times over several years. He promised to pay the victim's tuition and provided the mother with expensive electronics and other gifts. The 67-year-old businessman was convicted of sex trafficking of a minor. As disturbing as it is to hear stories like this, these types of cases are really happening in the communities around America. These stories remind us that traffickers come in many forms. They could be from the United States or they could be from another country. They could be family members or partners of the victims or total strangers. Traffickers can be male or female. They could be individuals, part of an organized group, or gangs. Another group guilty of human trafficking is recruiters. A recruiter is used by a trafficker to find potential victims. These recruiters often seek out vulnerabilities that make a person easier to manipulate. Things like low self-esteem, history of abuse, running away from home, or unsupervised internet access increase a young person's vulnerability. Recruiters look for their victims in places where youth are often unsupervised. They might hang out at malls and parks, befriend youth in schools or local libraries, meet runaway youth at a bus stop, youth shelters, or online. Even though a recruiter isn't the person directly selling or trafficking the victim, according to the law, they are still guilty of human trafficking. So we know traffickers and recruiters do what they do so they can make a profit. But who's driving the demand? The buyers. Like traffickers, buyers also come in many forms. Over the years, I've arrested more than 450 buyers in human trafficking stings. I've picked up buyers as young as 17 years old and as old as 75. They come from every segment of society. They are married and single, businessmen, doctors, construction workers, and the unemployed, just passing through, or prominent community members. Most buyers are there because they, 1, think it's a victimless crime, 2, think they won't get caught, and 3, have a sex addiction or feel unable to get their sexual needs met in any appropriate way. But the truth is this, there are very real victims whose lives are being destroyed through their actions. There are law enforcement like me looking to hold them accountable. Exploiting another person is never an acceptable way to have your needs met. A lot of these buyers also admit that the chain of events that led them to seeking to buy sex, and especially for those seeking sex with a minor, all started with an addiction to pornography. My job as a detective is to investigate these crimes and hold the perpetrators accountable. but I also care about the victims impacted by these crimes. That's why I depend on Unbound advocates to be there to help the survivors get the care and support that they need. And whenever I train on human trafficking investigations around the country, I tell other law enforcement it's vital that they identify an agency in their community that can provide services to these survivors. So we talked about traffickers, recruiters, and buyers, but where does that leave you? As a member of your community, first of all, commit to not being part of the problem. Don't buy sex. Don't let yourself get on the slippery slope of pornography addiction, which leads so many people to buying sex. Don't exploit and don't take advantage of other people. Keep your eyes and ears open. If you see something suspicious, call the National Human Trafficking Hotline or your local law enforcement. If your community isn't educated about human trafficking, help organize an awareness event or advocate for education in your schools. If you have young people in your life, talk to them about trafficking, online safety, and pornography. Be a safe place for them when they screw up. And get involved with and donate to organizations like Unbound so they can continue to be there for the survivors that law enforcement recovers. Whatever you do, take action and be a part of the solution.